All right. What's up, you dirtbags? Happy episode 101. So excited to be back. And we've got a big one for you. Just finished recording. You guys are going to love this episode. Just wrapped up with the man, Zach Taylor, as you guys saw on the title and the thumbnail. And as you guys will hear in a little bit, Zach Taylor is a great friend of mine. A lot of you guys know him in the industry. Super excited for you to dive into this episode. Got about an hour and a half just packed full of knowledge, education, hearing updates on his new business, and just diving into some incredible stories. Zach is always a character and so fun to have on the show. So, also, if you guys are on YouTube and you see what I'm wearing, we've got one sec here, the Dirtbags University hockey jersey. I just got it in today. I couldn't love it anymore. I had high expectations for it. We got the black and gold. We got the C on the chest, a 22 on the back since the podcast started in 2022, and Dirtbags University. So, who do you play for? And I didn't think I'd like it this much, but I wanted to throw it out there for you guys. If anyone wants a Dirtbags University hockey jersey, let me know. I might get some more, and obviously I can custom it to change the number or have your name on it, but this thing is going to get some good use out of it. So got that. We also have our Phaser fundraiser coming up. As you guys have seen, I've started to post a little bit more. This is our 5th Phaser fundraiser we've done. It's coming October 30th. It's a Thursday night in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, which is my hometown. We do the Black Tie Gala, and we have a few sponsorship spots still open that we're looking for. We have 3 different levels. We have a bronze $500 level, gold $1,500 level, and then the diamond $3,000 level. If any of you guys listening would love to support, that would mean the world. If you want to grab a bronze or a gold sponsorship, just let me know. Shoot me a text. Shoot the Dirtbags a text. We'll get your logo. The kids, all the money goes to the Boys and Girls Club of Detroit Lakes, and the kids of the club, they're going to be hand drawing and hand coloring all of our sponsors' logos. So we do this every year. The support we've had from the dirt world is really what drives this fundraiser. I think we had 12 sponsors last year, from people that listen to the podcast, from people that are clients of Phaser, and people that just wanted to support a good cause for the kids. So shoot me a message, let me know. We'd love to have you as a sponsor. It would mean the world, and it'd also help out a ton. So you shoot me a text, 218-234-7345. Of course, you could always shoot me a DM on Instagram, either the Dirtbags page, Phaser Marketing page, or my personal page. That would mean a lot. So other than that, of course, if you're listening to the show, you're getting any value, like and subscribe at whatever channel you're listening on. That helps us a ton. That is our, I guess you could say, our compensation from you guys. It's a free show. And if you could help us out, just write a review, give us 5 stars or whatever, and subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. So with that, episode 101, we are going to pump out more and more content for you guys, more value, more education, and a whole lot more fun. So excited to bring on the man, Mr. Zach Taylor. Let's cue the music. Let's dive right into it. All right, what's up, you dirtbags? My name is Luke Egerbrotten. This is episode 101. It's great to be back in studio with you guys. A little different, obviously, as we just published episode 100 with the man, Luke Payne. We wanted to pump one out the next week. Obviously, you guys know we always do them in 2-week intervals, but we're going to try this for a little bit. We're going to do a few weekly ones, a few bonus episodes for you guys, and keep the good times rolling. So excited. Most of you guys already know who our next guest is. You see him all over Instagram. He's a speaker. I mean, he's the boating king in the summers. we're bringing on our guy, the man, Zach Taylor, into the Dirtbag studio. Zach, how we doing, man?
Cheers. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Dude, it is a pleasure to have you in the studio. You and I have been, I, you and I have known each other for a while now. It's crazy to look back, and I can't believe we haven't done an episode yet. But I think we just had to tee it up right to where 101 was meant to be.
No, 101's where it's at. I like this. This is good. Right after your big, you can only go downhill from 101, so why not bring me in?
No, we're just gonna keep climbing the mountain with you,
Love it.
dude. So yeah, obviously Zach Taylor, we got you in studio here. Your main Instagram profile you use is the at it's at Taylor Things. I think it's at underscore Taylor
Yeah.
Things. So
Yeah.
for everyone listening, go give him a follow. And then super excited to dive in. I think it's almost going to be a double faceted episode here because you have a lot going on in a new transition into your own business, but you also come in with a lot of knowledge, leadership experience throughout the industry. So I'm really excited to dive into your experiences starting the new company, but then also everything else you have going on from speaking at Con Expo, cash flow management. I mean, you name it, Trench Safety Tuesday. So as I was thinking about how we want to get started, I got to hear, let's just start with the new business. I mean, this is massive news for people that don't know, for people that are just getting to know you. What are you currently doing now, and what's the new business?
So I have spent a lot of time in excavation. I've been in the industry for like 10, 12 years. Worked for a lot of really good companies, and I've always done work on the side, and I've always been involved in like some sort of a side business. My old business partner is one of your clients. They're doing well. Um, and I've always kind of had an itch to go out on my own. I had a business like 10 years ago with a guy, and it went incredibly south. It was really bad. I ended up having to file bankruptcy. The company got sued by everybody we were. It was, you name it, it happened, went downhill. So I kind of took a step back from that. I got a couple of jobs where I was like a division manager or a foreman, superintendent, whatever. Then the union called, so that was cool. So I've spent 5 or 6 years down in Boston working in the union, which was great. And then the side work just really started to pick up.
Hmm.
And my daughter was getting older, and my schedule. I mean, I live about an hour 15 north of Boston, so the commute was starting to get schedule wise. Everything was conflicting, and I was really sitting around. I wasn't really happy with what I was doing,
Yeah,
and which it was a personal thing for me. Like my boss was great, the company I worked for was good, the money, the benefits, all that, all good things, but it just wasn't fulfilling me anymore.
sure.
So I was kicking around the idea. Our company got bought out by like some big overseas conglomerate. Things were changing. I wasn't super happy. And then I was at Trimble Dimensions last year, and I ran into Dane Cotton, and he gave me a bit of a motivational speech. um,
Give
so
us a little bit. Dane, obviously, great friend. He's a client of
Dane,
ours. He's a
yeah,
best one of our best guests on the show. Like, give us a
yeah.
little
Okay,
snippet
so
of what the
I'm walking through the hall. I got to turn the light on. I'm in my brand new basement office, and the sun
yeah,
shifted. So
turn
give
that
me one
turn that
second.
turn that Christmas tree on behind you.
I'd love to, but my dog chewed the wires the other day. Chief Bark Officer was bored down here, and she just cranked out and chewed the power cord to the lights. So I don't know if that's any better, but
It looks better.
so, all right. So I'm walking through one of the hallways in the Venetian, and Dane was there with Ryan Rock Structures and a couple other guys. And he goes, "Hey, Zach." So I walk over and like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" And there were some people there I didn't know. So Dane was introducing them to me. Chase Stutson was there with a couple of his guys. They were introducing to me. So I stick my hand out to shake somebody's hand to say, "Hey, I'm Zach. You know, I'm an operator in the union." And Dane goes, "Oh, this is Zach. He's just an operator. He's too much of a pussy to go out on his own." And immediately in my head was, I don't know if you watched the Michael Jordan documentary that was on
Yeah,
Netflix a few years ago, when he's sitting there looking at the iPad and he just says, "And I took that personally." Like immediately that flashed in my head. And I was like, he's not wrong.
sure.
So I mulled on that for a couple of months, and it just kept coming back and coming back. And finally, with everything else that was going on, I just decided, I was like, you know what? Dan was right. He was 100% right. The only reason I'm not doing this is out of personal fear for myself, past experiences that, I didn't
Yeah.
have control over necessarily. And it was time to make a change. I wanted more. more for myself, more out of my life. And I didn't want to
Yeah.
look back in like 10 years and be like, man, I had an opportunity and I just didn't take it. So here we are.
Yeah. That's awesome. So the man from DC Excavation, Dane Cotton, helped convince you to start your own business. And from what I did the research on, you actually named the business after Dane Cotton.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly who I named it after. It's Dane Cotton
Corp.
Construction. Yeah, Corp. That's a good story too. No, it's named after my daughter. I get a lot of questions if my company's named based after some of my political affiliations. I'm like, no, no,
No
my
way.
daughter's name's Melania. So that's how we came up with the
It's
name.
spelled different, isn't it? Yeah.
It
It's
is. Yeah. It's an
MIL.
I instead of an E and whatever. So
Yeah, and obviously I want to give a shout out to that Instagram as well. It's at Milania_Corp. For anyone
yep.
listening, it's at MILANIA_Corp. Go give Zach a follow on both of those accounts. You're super active, which I love on
That's
both
even worse.
accounts. And when did you start jumping in, I guess, on the social media side? Was it back when you had the other company?
A little bit. I always thought Instagram was stupid.
Yeah.
Um, I just people post pictures, whatever. And then I started to get a little more into it right around the 2020 Con Expo.
Mm.
And I that's how I pretty much met everybody was through Instagram. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. I met the Sherbers, I met Dane, I've met you, I've met a lot of people. And I handled the social media for the other company that I was with.
Yeah.
So I did some stuff for them. But I mean, really, it was probably back right around 2020 before that Con Expo kicked off. I started getting into social media a little bit more.
All right, you dirtbags. Quick 30-second break to thank our sponsor that is making this show happen. We've got Eljen Corporation. They helped put on this episode 101. As you saw, we had the 4th of July special with the man, Drew Nikolai from Eljen. But Eljen is such a big supporter of the industry, of our veterans, and of the Dirtbags podcast for over 4 decades. For those trying to count, that's over 40 years. Elgin has been leading the charge in innovative, reliable, and engineer-friendly septic solutions. Their signature GSF system is NSF 40 certified, ASTM tested, and designed to thrive in even the most unpredictable soil conditions. With its multi-stage filtration process, smaller footprint, and lower maintenance, it's become the trusted go-to contractors who want performance they can count on. A lot of you guys listening use Elgin, and you guys have given me all the great feedback. Getting into tight septic systems or tight solutions with some property lines, and no matter what, Elgin has been there to help you solve those problems. So give them a shout. You can give them a follow on Instagram, shoot them a message at Elgin Corporation, or of course you can visit their website, elgin.com. That's ELJEN.com. With that, let's get back to this incredible episode 101 with Mr. Taylor. Whew. Yeah, I know that was a big springboard, was that 2020 Con Expo year, where a lot of people, and obviously I didn't go to 2017 and didn't know what it was like back then, but from talking to a lot of people, it sounds like the the connections you made across the country became a lot easier through social media, and then everyone would come to Con Expo and meet in person and just continue to
Yeah,
work on those relationships. So it's been really cool to see that. Obviously, now we're coming up to the 2026 Con Expo, which
crazy, crazy.
you're speaking at, and you're
I am speaking at
not just one session either. You got 2 sessions.
two sessions.
You've got the crew collab one, which we'll touch
Yep.
on a little bit, just your involvement with crew. But then I want to hear a little bit about you've got in the trenches an operator's perspective on trench safety. Um,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, of course, you are the Trench Safety Tuesday man. Like that is
That's
you.
me.
It
It's my hashtag.
the niche within the niche. Like I love it. So give me and our listeners, of course, a bit of perspective on the speaking presentation you're doing, but then I'd love to go deeper into why trench safety as a whole.
So yeah, so I've got the two speaking panels. Crew, obviously, nonprofit. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of met and connected better there. Get people into the trades. They're doing a panel talk on just kind of what the organization is, the things that we offer, the classroom talks to kids, the outreach, things like that. So I'll be on the panel for that. But the trench safety one, I started the whole trench safety thing back right after the last show in 2023. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you see it, it would always piss me off because like we've all done stupid shit, like jumped in a hole we shouldn't have. But I knew friends like Alex Parker, a couple other friends of mine. I mean, you know, Alex, that have been in trench collapses and have been seriously hurt. And, you know, 10, 15 years ago, and today they're still dealing with the side effects of it. And I was like, well, that's so stupid. Like, why would you do that? Like, whatever.
Mhm.
And I saw a story get shared from somebody I followed on LinkedIn about this guy. And the picture just pissed me off. He's in this hole in someone's backyard. They were fixing a sewer. And he's like 12 feet down. The hole's probably 2 feet wide, dug it with a backhoe or a mini or something. And he's standing there holding the shovel, looking up, smiling, and you can see the pipe down next to him. And then the thing caved in on him like 5 minutes later. That was the last picture anybody ever got of him. And
Wow.
it just, for some reason, that one just pissed me off. And I was like, this guy's down there working. Everything they said about the guy, you know, great coworker, had a family, like guy's just down there trying to put food on the table for his kids, right? Buy school clothes, buy new sneakers, like whatever. And he's in a shit situation. And somebody, instead of being like, hey, maybe you don't want to do it, no, we'll take a picture of this guy. And then he died.
Yeah.
And I made a post and I was just like, basically, um, if this is the kind of company you run, like F you, like you should treat your employees better. I just went on a rant, soapbox rant. If you're an employee that's willing to do this, there's 100 other companies out there that are looking for help that'll, you know, make sure you go home at night. So I get my Twitter thumbs going and I send my thing off and I go to bed and I wake up in the morning. I had like, I don't know, 150 reshares,
Wow.
400 comment. Like it just, for me, like I'm a nobody, but for me, it went like viral. And a lot of people shared it. And I was talking with Missy Sherber. She had shared it. She goes, you know, that was really good because we do, you know, United Rentals, Sunbelt, all those people come in and do like this is a trench spot. They'll do a safety training, and you know, it's the same generic corporate overview. She's like, I really think you should keep doing this because people in the industry need somebody's like raw, honest feelings and perspective about what this is and what the consequences are. So if you follow my posts that I make, they're pretty colorful sometimes. Depends how
Yeah.
pissed off I am about the situation. But I've been doing it for close to 3 years now, and I've gotten a lot of really good feedback. I mean, people message me pictures like, "Is this okay?" And I'm like, first of all, like, I'm not an OSHA guy. I'm not a safety guy. I've said it
Right.
before. Like, I am not the standard for what trench safety is. I just know what you should and shouldn't do,
Mhm.
so I can point you in a direction. But I've had a lot of positive feedback, and I had a kid message somebody. Caleb Alman sent me a message because he followed Caleb, and Caleb shared something that I shared. Him and his dad were digging in the backyard, and he was like, "Whoa, that's not right." And they fixed it. And they were 7 feet deep trying to fix a water line at their farm. He's like, somebody could have died. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, good. Like we're getting a message out there. Like that's good. So I've kind of kept up with it, and I was asked to put in a panel presentation for Con Expo, which they graciously accepted. So that's cool. I've got a lot of support from a lot of people online, resharing posts, sending me content of things they
Yeah.
do. So you can take like, okay, this was a bad scenario. These people died. You can't do this. You can't do that. But hey, this is what Stutzman Gerbaz is doing. They take their guys out one day a year and do a whole day of just how you rig, how you set a box, how you do this. And Dane sent me some good pictures. A lot of people sent me stuff. So I can get like a good and a bad perspective, share some
Mhm.
information. I mean, honestly, you save one life, it's worth it. So
Yeah.
it's been a fun little run.
I love that. And that's a great point too. You're not trying to save the world. If you can save one life in the last 3 years or in the next 10 years, I mean, that's well worth it. So for anyone going to Con Expo and it wants to jump in on an educational session and listen, I just looked it up. It's Tuesday, March 3rd, and the session's from 2:30 p.m. to 3:15 p.m. And it's titled "In the Trenches: An Operator's Perspective on Trench Safety." You can also just use their little drop down and type in Zach Taylor and find that session there. Um, no, I think it's really cool too. Credit to Con Expo for making room for that session.
No, definitely.
Because I think oftentimes it's like, no, it's leadership and marketing and all these people tracks and business tracks, but to have this reserved for trench safety is showing also maybe some of the improvements that are being had in talking about some of
Definitely.
this.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty excited. I was able to add 3 people to come with me for the panel, which is great. They're all people that I've shared stories of. So it was going to be some big, to do surprise, but it is what it is. Like nothing proprietary. So I'm going to have 3 people with me that are going to share their stories that are
Mm,
all trench safety survivors. They had serious injuries, things like that. Now they're in this part of life. And so they'll be able to share some real perspective of literally being buried in a trench and almost
yeah.
dying. And there they are. So it's going to be really good. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I'm going to take another angle at this too. So we actually have a good amount of people that listen to the podcast that maybe aren't as familiar with dirt work and excavation. And so when you're describing, going down to fix a water line, and let's say you're 8 feet in the ground in a hole that's 2 feet wide, and somebody's thinking about it, what is a trench box and how do you get it in there and what does it do? And if you want to touch on that a little bit here and just give us a picture of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you've seen even sitting on the side of the road, it's 2 shielding walls. There's spreader bars in between that you can set distances for depending how big your trench is. You rig them from rigging points with a chain. You place them with an excavator, and they stick up 18 inches above the hole, protect cave in. But the boxes are you get you get a tabulated data sheet with each box, and that's going to tell you that this box is rated for this depth, this application, and this is what you can and can't do with it. And if you exceed X, Y, and Z, the box is not going to protect you from a potential cave in or a potential collapse hazard. So, depending what you're doing, there's obviously different sizes, different adjustments, things like that. Um, and you just kind of, like I said, you set them with an excavator and you work inside of them. And as you
Yeah.
make your pipe runs in, you move the box down the trench. Um, There's different variations. I mean, you could get a manhole box, which are usually slide rail systems where you set the 4 corners and you put rails in, and that's a much bigger, wider. If you've got like a big structure you're setting and you've got to get different pipes in, you need more room to work. There's hydraulic shoring, which is like thinner sheets with hydraulic pump jacks that hold it, but everything's rated differently.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just assume that because you have a box, it's the right box.
Mm-hmm.
Yard of dirt, I made a post, weighs as much as a Honda Civic. Nobody really equates those two things together, but if a yard of dirt
One.
falls on you, one, uno. Depending on the model that you buy, depending how wet the dirt is, they're anywhere from 3,000
Yeah.
to 3,200 pounds. Um,
Yeah. Depending on which model Honda
Depending which
Civic you
model, if you get
buy.
the V6, you get a 4 cylinder, it could be five, but essentially 1 yard of dirt weighs as much as a small car. So when
Yeah.
you see these
Wow.
collapses and like a whole wall comes in, you got to figure that's 4, 5, 6 yards of dirt, depending how much is caving in.
Mm,
It's a lot of weight, and it does not take a lot of time for it to happen. And there is not a quick way of getting somebody out who's buried.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
And
honestly, I can't think of a more painful way to die. I mean, you're in there suffocating. Every breath you take as you collapse, the dirt settles in as your lungs can't expand it, and you just suffocate to death. It's terrible. I couldn't imagine.
oh, yeah, suffocating in the ground and just like knowing that that's it, but not
That's it.
not dying quickly either. I can imagine.
Right.
Oh man.
So
What
yeah, I mean, a lot of nuances to it, but it's all. I'm surprised by the number of ones we see. I can't. I I feel bad for people that don't know, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, which is part of the reason I do this. Because I've shared some stories of a guy that, some 60-year-old dude that he's lived in the same farmhouse with his wife since they had kids in the 70s. And my sewer line's cracked. So I'll go get the Kubota tractor and I'll dig it up and I'll fix it. He just has no clue what he's doing.
yeah.
And then the guy's wife can't find him for 2 hours and she looks out back and the thing's caved in. The guy was, so not knowing what you don't know isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, but being able to educate people to understand like what the consequences are and what scenarios will cause these things to happen is kind of my goal.
Yeah. What type of resources have you come across, whether that be companies or products or other education sources? Do you have any resources you'd like to share on trench safety that or people that are providing some of those products?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got your standard rental houses. Friends with the guy Gary from Road Plates in Boston. He does road plates, obviously, but He does shoring, different
Yep.
shoring. You've got Groundwork Safety Systems, who I think has the coolest set of custom boxes. Like their Jim is like out of his mind with the stuff that they've created. Like their setup is so cool. They weigh 40% less than a standard box because they're high tensile steel. You can buy a box and adapt it. It comes with, depending what you buy, you can get a ladder built in for egress. You can get stairs depending. They've just got the coolest stuff. But you've got your United Rentals, you've got Sunbelt, you've got Northeast Shoring in Massachusetts is another guy that I talked to. He provides all that stuff. So there's a lot of companies out there that will get you what you need. You can go in and talk to them. I'm doing this, X, Y, and Z, and they'll tell you what they have for solutions. Excavate Safe on Instagram. Perry,
Mm-hmm.
he's a really cool guy. I sat in on a couple of the Nuka quarterly calls, and I've talked to them, and they're think thinkinsidethebox.net, I believe, is their website, but all sorts of resources about what you can get, where you need what, and just, data on data on data for things like that. So that's a good resource. On Instagram, it's Test Trench Excavation Safety Task Force or something like that. So, I mean, it's out there. It's really easy to find. Like I said, I've had a lot of people message me. So if you have questions, like I have all that stuff, happy to
Yeah.
send it over, happy to share it. And I try and put
Yeah.
that into some of my posts too, where you can find things.
Right. Well, and that's kind of nice to have somebody like you in the industry that you kind of bring all that data together, and you just look at your feed and you can see a lot of these companies on your feed, but also, like you mentioned, just shoot you a message on Instagram. Like you'll reply right back. And yeah, it's very quick. It's very easy. But to have somebody like you that, maybe has more of those connections that we may not have in this division of trench safety, because a lot of the people listening, it might be a bit of a convicting podcast for them, and that could be a great thing. So knowing that they can go to you to ask any questions and you can at least point them in the right direction is at least a great start. So I want to hear more about, you touched on it a little bit. So starting the new business, Milania Corp, when did that start? And then what was the process like getting that started, from like the first getting the LLC, the first piece of equipment? Like
The
talk me
first
through.
logo.
Yeah. Yeah. The first logo. If there's any shout outs there you want to give on the podcast.
Shit, this guy in Arizona made it for me because I texted him at like 11:30 one night and said, "Hey, I need a logo."
I didn't make it. Our team did. We can't give me
Hey,
too much
you got a
credit.
great team. Well, yeah, but I texted you. So Phaser Marketing has a great team.
Yeah.
Feel free to
Yeah.
reach out to them. Luke loves late night texts. Well, you're 3 hours behind me, so you probably just finished dinner.
It
Me,
was
I was
like
laying in
dinner
bed
time.
like, oh shit, I need a logo.
Yeah. No, it was like dinner time. But actually, yeah, the process to start a new business, I love whenever somebody does it, but you come in with a lot of experience too. So was it different this time, or what did you notice? And if you could walk us through what it was like to start this business.
Well, because I'm so good at business, when I filed for my LLC, before I did my due diligence, I checked to make sure that Milania Corporation was not taken in your state
Yep.
registry. If you want to start a business, you can look it up, and they'll tell you if you have a business name that conflicts with somebody else in the industry, and you got to change whatever. So again, because I'm so good at this, I did that due diligence. I called you and made a logo. I went to GoDaddy and spent $117 to buy a domain name. I created a landing page. I created an email. I built the landing page. I printed business cards. I gave out business cards. I communicated with potential clients on email. And then the state told me that you can't use corporation in an LLC filing name. So I had to completely rename the company Milania Excavating LLC, and then file for a DBA because you can't use corporation in an LLC. So because I'm so good at business, this is going to go swimmingly.
I mean, to be fair, that's hard. That's just something that can slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
But that sucks. So you're
It did.
basically a DBA. Is the DBA Milania Corp, or is it Milania Corporation still?
The DBA is Milania Corporation.
Okay, but
So the actual business filing is just Milania Excavating LLC, which I had to go back and refile with the state because they rejected my initial filing.
oh,
Because
I love
again,
it.
I am so smart.
Yeah, that's great. So you get that
Big cart
filed. You
before the
get that.
horse guy. So I get that filed. We get that all
And
taken care of.
talk to me a little bit about it. Do you still have the job at this point? Is this kind of as you're about to leave the job, or did you jump off and dive right into
So
it?
I had my boss in Boston has a friend that owns a big landscape company, and he's very well connected, does a bunch of high end work. And in a couple of the cities there, they had talked to him about doing some utility stuff. And my boss asked me, he goes, "You know how to do water and sewer, right? Like tie ins and things like that, resident." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So initially, we had talked about doing some of these on the side. And I was like, "Well, my side work's picking up. So I'm going to file for an LLC. I'll get the insurance. We can go from there." And then that sat for a few months. Um, as things progressed with the buyout of the company that I worked for and the way they were changing things and structuring things and the writing on the wall started to come around, I was dissatisfied in my employment situation, like I was saying.
Yeah.
And I had already had a couple of jobs that people had asked me to do. I had a leach field that somebody needed done. A friend of mine is doing a spec house that he wanted quotes on doing the foundation for. It's some sewer
Hmm.
water tie-ins. So I was planning on taking time off of work to do it. And at some point, if all this utility work started to pick up, at some point I was planning on transitioning out anyway.
Got it.
That took a bit of a back seat on his end. Um, but I was still getting, I had kind of put the word out that I was doing more side work. And I've had enough connections around that people are like, "Oh, well, I've got a, this week long job and that week long job." And it just got to the point where I had to make a decision of,
Hmm.
do I want to keep taking time off of work to go do side jobs, or am I going to take Dane's advice and not be a pussy and just make the jump? So that's what I ended up doing. So I had some jobs lined up,
Yeah.
probably not as many as I would have liked to say, "Hey, I'm putting my 2 weeks in," but it's been consistent and I'm paying bills, and that's really, I guess, all you can ask for in the first like 3 or 4 months.
All right, you dirtbags. Let's talk insurance. I know we'll talk about it later in this episode a little bit, but it's not the sexiest topic, but stick with me because we all know this is important. If you run any kind of excavation, grading, or any septic, dirt moving business, anything like that, you know insurance can make or break you. And that's where Charlie Huff, our guy, the legend, comes in. You've heard us talk about him before on the podcast, but he's not just some random insurance guy. He's one of us. He grew up in a shop, he worked in the trades, and now he's dedicated his career to protecting dirt world companies like yours listening to the Dirtbags podcast right now. They flip over every rock, negotiate hard with carriers, and make sure you're not just covered, but covered right. Great thing about Charlie, you can shoot him a text, you can give him a call, you can compare quotes. Like, let's just compare your current plan to a new plan, what's out there, because he knows the industry. So shoot him a text at 435-764-4833. Let him know you heard him on the podcast. He'll take great care of you. We use him as a provider, and then also many of you guys listening have already texted me letting me know that you messaged Charlie and you started using him. So he's doing all the right things. He's taking care of this industry, and we can't thank him enough for sponsoring this episode. With that, let's get back to it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for supporting our sponsors. Let's get back to episode 101 with Zach Taylor. Oh yeah, and I mean the first few jobs, because yeah, you're busy, but it's not just like the jobs you're doing; it's everything else from uh, anything you need in a business, even the little ankle biters, like setting up your emails and setting up the
Mm-hmm.
website and the logo and business cards and your bank accounts. I mean everything, and then to have to refile your LLC and uh, on top of the job. So when you're doing these jobs, are these one man jobs that you're going out knocking out, or are you subbing anything out, or what do those look like?
They're basically stuff that I can do on my own. I mean, I've got a couple of friends that, if I need help for a day, they'll come help me. I'll go help them. But most of everything that I'm doing right now, I can essentially just do by myself. It's nothing crazy. My friend owns an equipment rental company and a quarry and trucking. So
Mm.
anything I need, I just go right to him to get materials and machines and whatever he can service all that. So I'm able to kind of be self-sufficient right now. But at some point, it'll transition to start to look for that first employee.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to, so I'm curious too, as if somebody's looking for a leach field or somebody's needs a sewer line repaired or anything like that, do you have experience? I guess you wouldn't necessarily be bidding that job, but providing estimates for those jobs. What does that look like, or do you just kind of jump into it, or?
I mean, I don't tote myself as the world's greatest estimator, but
Sure.
I've done enough of the stuff that I'm bidding right now to kind of know price points. Obviously, I know what
Mhm.
my costs are on the machine rentals. I'll know what they are when I lease or buy something. The vendors that I use for like my pipe and stuff like that, I've done business with since I was at other companies, and then I've just
Got it.
gone back to them. So I've got good relationships with them. So I get a pretty good handle on what my rough costs are to do the job. And then it's just a matter of figuring in the time and profit margin. I haven't invested in any type of like estimating software yet. It's kind of still
Yeah.
pen and paper and, hope you don't miss something.
It's got to be. I can only imagine at the beginning, it's not like there's a surplus of money laying around that we're just going to
No.
invest in CRMs and estimating
Right.
softwares. And yeah, it's got to be pen and paper. But I think that you learn a ton doing it pen and paper. I think, starting out at least, and just like figuring out all your costs and being so ground level with all your vendors and all the pricing and everything, to then maybe in the next year when you do get a software, you know the numbers like the back of your hand and you can just plug them in pretty easily.
Yeah. And that's kind of what the goal is going to be at some point. Well, I can do it through QuickBooks. I have friends that use QuickBooks for their estimates, so that's an option. I've used LMN
Mhm.
before at various companies, which is great. You plug everything in, create your rates and per foot prices and yards and
Sure.
stone and all that, and then it's just a matter of need 100 yards of this, need 60 feet of that, 7 hours on this, 4 hours on whatever, and it'll generate a number for you based
Mhm.
on what you input for your overhead recovery and profit and all those things. So at some point we'll get there.
Yeah. When you rent equipment, and maybe it's easier because you know the guy that owns it. Is it pretty easy to rent equipment, or what is the process like? Like, on what type of turnaround could you get a piece of equipment?
Uh, well, I mean, for me, Steve has all sorts of sized machines. I mean, he's got everything from a 4 ton to a 74 ton because he's got the
Mm,
quarry, and his equipment company will rent out anything. So for me, it's just as simple as making a phone call and
sure.
scheduling it with him. Um, Most rental companies are very similar. They'll have a sales rep or an office person you can call in. The cat dealer up by me has a rental house. You can call them. They've got obviously a back stock of equipment. It's just a matter of scheduling a low bed move and saying, I'm starting Tuesday and I need the machine for a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Got it. And then, looking ahead in the winter time, what does winter look like for you guys in terms of weather, but also work now that you're self-employed? Just curious on that.
yeah, so I'm looking at locking in a couple of winter jobs. I don't
Nice.
necessarily want to plow. I've done a lot of that. I may do a little bit of it with my old boss and the guy that owns the other company because he has a lot of
Hmm.
big accounts. So like maybe some space filler or plow a little bit. But um, we get snow like you do. We haven't had a super heavy winter snow wise that's shut work down in a few years. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can put winter conditions into your bids, which I plan to do if we've got a hammer frost or something like that. But for the most part, the last few years, everybody's been working. Everybody's kept working. January gets pretty cold, so you might see people shut down here and there for a week or two, depending what the
Yeah.
weather's doing. But I mean, I don't have any safety net, so I got to find a way to keep working in the winter.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's a at least, well, for one, you obviously know that, and you have had a little bit of time to plan for that and to prepare for it. So I guess the next, thing to look at is, have the leads or the jobs that have come in, are they partner based and referral based, or where have those mainly come from?
A lot of it's just been word of mouth or me going to the people that I've done business with before and saying,
Right.
"Hey, I'm back. I'm on my own." Um, I've got a decent network of people out here that have asked
Hmm.
me like, okay, what are you looking for? 100
Yeah.
grand or less, 50 grand or less. What do what's your target market here for a job you're looking for? So, um, I've got some irons in the fire for a couple of house lots that'll roll through the winter, which will be nice. I've got my licenses in for the towns around here to be on their preferred vendor list for water breaks and things like that, sewer repairs. So we'll see
Got
how
it.
some of those chips fall.
When it comes to licenses and certifications, maybe, how big of an undertaking was that? Because I know, I always recommend. If somebody's just in the excavating world and they're losing work and they're not in the utility space, I always recommend like get into utilities, get into septic. Usually there's a certification process, but how does it work with where you're at when it comes to sewer line and water line
So
certifications?
for like sewer water drainage in New Hampshire, the towns around me, you can go and apply for an excavation license. It's usually like $100 per utility that you want to put in for. You got to provide your insurance. You got to provide some references from other municipalities that you've
Mm.
worked in. They'll talk to the inspector. Yeah, this guy does good work. No, this guy sucks. Don't let him get a license. Things like that. So,
Got it.
and so I've got licenses. I got to go pick up a couple more. I just haven't had time to get over and get the forms. Some of them are online, some of them aren't, depending how up to date the city is with technology. So it's a pretty simple process as far as that goes. Septics in
Yeah.
New Hampshire, you have to take a test.
Yep.
I actually was just at a review course because I've got to retake it in the fall because I missed it by like 5 or 6 points in the spring. They're pretty stringent. That sucked. The test itself sucks. But what's messed up is like if I go 5 minutes over the border into Maine, I don't need anything. The building inspector comes
Nothing.
out and looks at the plan and goes, "Looks good. If it
Yeah.
fails,
Good
it's on
enough.
you." You know what I mean? So Massachusetts is a little bit different for septics. Usually it's by town or by county, but
Mhm.
same deal. You go in, you pay the bribe, I mean the fee, and they'll give you a license.
Oh, I slipped that in there.
Yeah, no, it's Massachusetts for you.
Dude, I love it. So, um, when you're looking at your radius, I guess, as you're taking on jobs, I mean, obviously you kind of take that into account of how far out you want to go, but if you don't have any other jobs, like, does it matter how far out you go if that's the only job you're doing?
Nope. So it's funny you say that. The spec house that I said earlier
Yeah.
that my friend's doing. Part of the reason I jumped my job when I did was because he was closing on this property and he wanted to get going on it like within 30 days. So I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I'm going to be tied up. Like I've got to run 125 feet of sewer down the street to tie into where the city
Got it.
stubbed out. Then he's got the crossings, you got the water, you got the house lot, the everything. So I couldn't just take a week off of work and like chip away at it. I had to, make a decision. So I uh I had done a septic with a friend of mine. This job was coming up. We finished job one. I've got my notice in. Great. Couple extra paychecks, couple bucks in the account. Like life's good.
Things
And he
things are looking
calls
good.
me. Yeah, he calls me and he goes, "Hey, uh, I can't close till mid-July now because the guy he was subdividing the property and there was some taxes owed or whatever, some issue with the guy he was buying the land from." So he goes, "I got to kick this project till the end of summer." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So on my last
All
day at work
good.
in like 2 days, I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." So I get tagged in one of the local or the New Hampshire Facebook forums about septic that somebody needs. This lady had put in. They were moving. The guy that was going to do it all of a sudden couldn't do it. They needed it done like ASAP. So I talked to her and I talked to my buddy with the license. And I'm like, "Hey, want to go do another one? Hour
Hmm.
and 25 minutes away." But what are you going to do? Because it was that or don't work.
Yeah.
So, in
Interesting.
that case, I sucked it up and drove an hour and 25 minutes each day for one way and got that job done.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of why I bring it up because it's like, well, if you're only operating at one crew and even more specifically a one man show and you don't have a job on the schedule and a job brings you out 2 hours out, but it makes sense financially. Yeah. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of times you do need to take it and, which is good. And then obviously as business grows and you have a more guys to take care of and another crew potentially, then it obviously changes things, but changes the
Right.
radius. But yeah, hour 25, getting her done.
Getting it done, baby. It's farther than I drove to Boston. I'm like, "Oh, this is great." So,
uh,
but yeah,
uh,
no, I mean, you kind of got to go where the money is. My daughter's expensive, so it wasn't going to
yeah,
change anything in her life. So I just had to go to work, and that's you do what you got to do.
she's the owner of the company. I mean, her name's on it.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, all the Starbucks benefits. I much like Phaser Marketing. I have a
Oh
coffee
yeah,
subscription for her, so she gotta keep the boss happy.
that's awesome. Speaking of money, I think this is a great transition. We love to talk about cash flow and what that has looked like. If there's been any cash flow blunders, it's especially starting out, it can be so difficult. And this is the hardest industry when it comes to cash flow, I would say. So, any stories, anything with cash flow?
So, yeah. Obviously when I did my jobs or whatever, you try and figure your percentages and all that. And I had done one job and I was off on some of my material. There was a little bit more of a fill than I was expecting or whatever. So I get through that job, made a little bit less than I wanted, still made a profit, but it wasn't what I was expecting. So I'm like, all right, cool. And I had this other job coming up, and I had been I I'd only been running things through like checks and debit cards. So cash in, cash out right away. You need something.
Yeah,
I mean, my pipe vendor, I've got a handshake deal with him for a line of credit, which,
nice.
that works. But, for the most part, everybody wants to get paid when they're done providing the service that they're providing for you. Or if you're new, Steve's been good with the equipment and stuff like that, where he doesn't necessarily want money up front or right away, net 15, net 30, whatever. So that's been helpful. But, everything I was doing was immediate debit, check,
Yeah,
cash 2 days after I wrote it, like money out, money out, money out. There's never any time to you know, gather and
float it.
collect your thoughts and float it and manage the cash you have, because everything I was doing was just immediate spend swipe. So my buddy was like, dude, you really need to get a small business credit card. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I start poking around and went to Capital One. They said no. They just financed my truck, so I couldn't really bitch at them.
Sure.
Um, so I'm trying like hell to get like a business credit card,
Yeah,
and uh, went to Amex. Wanted to be cool, card that tings when you throw it on the ground, shit like that. So they approved me for this a business credit card. I'm stoked now because I'm like, great, I can actually float some material, and so I got their business gold card, and the the angle that they tote is that these are no credit limit cards.
yeah.
Like there's no
Spending
preset
power.
spending limit. Yeah, spending power is essentially a credit limit. Okay, don't
Yeah,
let them fool you. So I'm super stoked
it's unlimited
to
money.
finally, yeah, it's unlimited fun money. It's like fun coupons, like from Wolf of Wall Street. Just fun money,
Fun coupons.
fun coupons. So I I had just started a job. I was digging out a huge driveway for a landscaper who's doing a big permeable heated thing for this guy. So gave him a price for that. He gave me a deposit, took my deposit, check cleared. I'm like, great. But then my credit card comes in the mail. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Now like I can kind of manage some of this. So I had done my first portion of the job. I excavated everything out. So now I'm going to bill for the second half. And Steve called, when do you need the machine, whatever. And I'm like, hey, good news. Got my credit card. Like, I want to start putting points on it and like trying to get some of these benefits, stuff like that. Great. Send the invoice, send it early. For once, I'm going to pay you ahead of time. Great. So I get my card, I activate it on Friday after work. So, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sure.
They send me my invoice for trucking and the machine and mobilization, all that fuel that I bought from the other guy. I had like $14,000 that I needed to pay. So I'm like, here we go. This is it. Get all my points in one shot. So I go into my little app and it says, check your spending power. So I type in my $14,000 and they go, absolutely not. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay. So I call them and I'm like, hey, got my new card. No preset spending limit. This is what I have. I have the money, which you
yeah.
guys know, because even to get this card, I had to like link my bank account, send them bank statements. Like they know what I have, right? There's no
Right.
secrets here. So I'm like, I need 14 grand. And they're like, absolutely not. Your spending power is $2,800. And I'm like, this is this isn't great. Like, I'm like, what are we going to do here? They're like, well, you can charge all that. And then as soon as it hits, you can pay it and then charge. And
Oh
I'm looking
my,
at this like, that's like 6 transactions. Like, I'm not doing that. And
no.
I was like, that's annoying. So I tell them to run the first $2,800. Great, whatever. So I call them back and I'm like, can I prepay this account? I know I'm new. I know
Yeah,
that, I've had this card for less than one business day and I immediately asked you for 14 grand. What can we do here? Trying to build a
sure.
relationship. And so the lady tells me, she goes, yeah, you can prepay the account. She goes, we have to take it via wire transfer. And I'm like, all right, you want the cash? That makes sense. Like, okay, go to the bank, set up the wire transfer. The bank's like, you want to wire how much? And I'm like, we're going to wire him 12 grand. And I think I had like 15 grand in my account. And she was like, "Do you have all the And the bank, and my bank is local banks, good with small
Yeah,
business, but they're looking out for me, and they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because once you send a wire, like, there's no getting it back. Like,
right.
there's no return." I'm like, "Nope, I got everything here. Screw these guys. I want this money. I want this card charge. I want my point." So anyway, so I send the wire out on a Wednesday, and Amex tells me that it takes 36 to 48 hours. Great. Friday afternoon, I'm expecting to see this hit my account. Friday afternoon comes, doesn't hit my account. All right,
Oh,
we'll give it a day. So Monday, I get up, check my phone, check the app, nothing. And I'm like, "What do you mean nothing?" So I call them, and they're like, "Well, technically, it can take 3 to 5 business days." Now, mind you, I had 15 grand in my account. I sent 12 out 4 or 5 days ago.
you're sitting with three.
I've got $3,000, and I haven't paid myself. I've got to buy fuel. I didn't really have any materials to buy per se, but I got $3,000. Like, that's not, in the grand scheme of things, that is pennies, pocket
No.
change in this
Yeah.
industry. So I talked to them. They're like, "Well, it can take 3 to 5 working days for it to post. So if you don't see anything tomorrow, like, give us a call." Fine. But in the meantime, like, I've had to charge some stuff. So 3 grand turned to 2 grand, turned to $1,700, turned to $1,000. I was down to
Oh.
like $650 in my bank account. And I'm like, where the hell is this wire? Nothing on Tuesday. So I'm like, we'll give them the full business day.
Yeah.
So then I call on Wednesday, and I'm like, listen, because at this point, like, I have another job starting. Like, I need to get some stuff for this job.
Right.
I
Because you're
need to pay.
debiting the materials,
Right, because
right?
I'm debiting now because I sent 92% of my cash to Amex because I was going to win. So I'm like, what is going on? And the guy's like, "We have no record of this payment." So I give him the
No.
source code, or the source number, the UETR number, everything. And he's like, "Well, we're going to open an investigation to where this went, because right now we're not seeing a record of that payment." And I'm like, ah, debit, 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 debit. I'm like, I got school clothes I got to buy for my kid. Like, again, still haven't paid myself. I'm like, I got to buy groceries. Like, this was
Starbucks.
Starbucks for sure. I mean, there's $100 right there. But I'm like, this was a terrible idea. What the hell was I thinking? So they ended up finding it, and they applied it to my account the next morning. So, like, all's well that ends well. But for like 4 or 5 days, I was like, and I remember, I don't know, a handful of years ago, before Aaron Witt did some things with his business and brought in people and cash and all that, when it was just him, he had
Yeah.
made a post sitting in the airport about how he had about cash flow. Basically, I don't remember what it was about. Like, he had put stuff on credit cards, people owed him money, but he was doing different things, and just the importance of managing the cash that you have.
Yeah.
And immediately, as I'm sitting there, like, watching my bank account dwindle and my Amex account not increase, and bills start to get emailed to me, and I'm just like, "Oh my God." And like, I had billed out for the second half of the job. So like, I knew I had money coming because I know the guy that I was working for, and he
Yeah.
paid very quickly, which is nice. But still, like, I needed to make it like another 4 or 5 days. And I had
Mhm.
a maxed out credit card and cash just pouring out of my account. That $3,000 turned into, like, 500 or 600 bucks real quick. And I was like, man, this was an early lesson in patience and cash flow management, and understanding, like, the bigger picture of this business, other than I want this paid now, so I'm going to do this, because screw you guys for not giving me what I wanted. Like, yeah.
Dude, the Amex spending power is so confusing because with almost all credit cards, business credit cards, personal, there's a limit. It might
Yeah.
be 5,000, it might be 70,000, but there's a limit. You can see it. With
Yeah.
Amex, there is they say
Nothing.
there's no limit. There's like, yep, it's just
Yeah.
good vibes.
And
I'm
at the
like,
end of the month, or you're out of the club, like,
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
And so it's there, they give you money on good vibes, and you're like, okay, that's kind of cool. But to your point,
Right.
there is a number and there is a
There
limit,
isn't. Right.
and you just don't know what it is.
Right. They don't tell you. When I got the paperwork, it didn't tell me either. It just said right on there, no preset spending limit. So I'm like,
Yeah.
great. Like, I've got the money. I'll charge 14 grand, and I'll turn around and make the payment. Like, I'm going to look like a good investment on their part. I pay
And
my bill.
you're gonna have your points that you got
Yeah,
from it.
I got my new member bonus points. Like, that was cool. I finally got it. So like, once it cleared out, it was like, okay, good. Don't do that again. But man, for like
Yeah.
4 or 5 days, I was just like, this is it. Like I can't even. I gotta buy gas. Like I gotta buy fuel. I gotta get to the grocery store, and it's like debit, 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 debit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna go buy some hot dogs.
Yeah, well, and back to the 2,800 spending power they gave you. I mean, that's a couple hot dogs, a tank of gas, and maybe a bag of peanuts in the gas station in
Yeah,
this
pretty much.
industry.
I'm like, that'll pay the fuel for what I used the other day, but that's about it. Like, we got to
Yeah,
do something about this. And they're like, well, it'll go over time. And I'm like, I need it now, which is
yeah.
how I got into the wire situation. So, yeah, no, that
Oh
was
my
a pretty good
gosh.
lesson to learn. So when I understand, and like I said, I immediately thought of Aaron's post when he was talking about how he was down to like his last whatever.
Yeah,
And I was like, man, I gotta do a better job, because if I was busier and I wasn't staging this to be one job at a time,
yeah,
that would have buried me 3 months in, because I had I know I had a check coming in a week,
yeah.
but had I had other things that I needed to do, I had no means of doing it, because I sent all my cash out.
Sent 12,000.
Sent right out the bank. Yep. See ya. See you later. Bye. Gone.
Yeah, but you won that situation. So,
I
I
did. In the
mean,
long run, I won. Everybody got paid. Everything is fine. I
you
was able to
learned
buy Starbucks
something.
for my daughter. I
Yeah.
learned something, and I got my
Yeah,
bonus membership points for spending a certain amount in the first 3 months. I just did it in the
exactly.
first 3 weeks, so it was good.
It's funny you bring that up too with because like with credit cards, I do something similar where I just pay them off as soon as there's a balance and I treat it like a debit card, but you can go in the negative on a credit card and like prepay ahead, but it doesn't make as much sense, of course, because like you're just giving the credit card company money for the
Right.
future. But for my brain and your brain, it does make sense because it's like I know that tomorrow there's going to be money charged on it. So could I just
Right.
pay you ahead of time?
Right. So instead of paying this $14,000 bill over 6 payments,
Yeah.
like, can we just do this one shot? Which is what I was thinking. And then, in theory, had it gone the way it went, like, it would have been cleared up in 2 days by the time the
Right.
wire hit and ran the card. And then the kicker was, by the time all that money was on my card, I called them. I'm like, hey, run it. We're good. Like, great. Their credit card processing company got flagged for fraud, whoever they were using as a vendor. So Amex shut down all payments to them. So even after I got my wire cleared, I couldn't pay them. I had to do it a different
No
way.
way.
It's like, what the hell?
That's just a sign of
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're
Never,
gonna learn
never do that again.
we're gonna learn something from this.
Yeah. So I
Um,
definitely learned that. I definitely, like, they were, I don't want to say sleepless nights. Like, it wasn't that dire, but
yeah,
it was very, it was an uncomfortable situation to be in 3 months into running a business.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, you especially too like you just come off the honeymoon phase of announcing you started the business, that people are helping you and doing all this, and then things kind of quiet down a little bit, and then stuff like that happens, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's a great wake up call, and it's a great reminder too that business is a long game, it's a long relationship,
Yes.
and yeah, it's something to just you just want to prepare for longevity, and you have to withstand a lot to I mean, I don't know the stat off the top of my mind. I know the restaurant industry is one of the most difficult, but the excavation industry, the number of people that start it and then the number of people that continue to operate the excavation company 10 years later, it's a tough industry. It's one of the most capital intensive industries out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was talking to Missy Sherber, she was saying, and this was before I officially had gone out on my own, but by year three, most of the time is like the most difficult year. And that was
Mhm.
true with the other company I was with, just the growth. And, you got to keep feeding the beast, and you start doing jobs, and then you get, somebody dangles a carrot in front of you for something a little bit bigger. And you're like, well, you could do that. Like, okay. And you take that, and then the carrot gets a little bit bigger. And then you've got to
Yeah.
start making some decisions on equipment, on trucks, on personnel, what you're paying. And you get to a point where it's like, okay, at one point, Riverview, when I was with them, we were 50, 60,000 bucks a month just to turn the lights on. And we didn't have shit. Like, we were
Yeah.
a 4 or 5 man company, but we had the iron, we had the trucks, and it grows so quickly. So to your
Yeah.
point, the, the phasing of how you want to scale your business, you've got to take like a really good look at like what your long-term goals are and how you plan to get there strategically. Like, and that's, when I talked to Taylor on the Con Expo podcast, he was asking me about the business. And I said the same thing. I was like, there's I've made plenty of mistakes in other business ventures I've been in where someone's like, we were doing 100, $200,000 jobs, turning a decent profit. Everything was great. And someone's like, hey, how about this $500,000 job? And yet my ego says, yeah, I want my company
Yeah.
logo on that fence. But if you don't take a look at, you know, the self-evaluation of the business, can we withstand this? What if something goes wrong? Are we able
Yeah.
to delay like something that's not even any fault of yours? So that's kind of a lesson that I took into this, where the jobs that I'm looking at, like I've turned down a couple decent offers of people that I know that are like, oh yeah, we know you do decent work. Like we've got this subdivision. I need 4 house lots put in. The road's in, like have at it. And I'm like, that is the thought of being on the same job and not mobbing and demobbing and all that. But at some point it's not going to be, okay, you can do one and you can do two and three. And
Yeah.
you're going to open a cellar hole, open a second cellar hole while trades start coming in behind. And next thing you know, you're going to have all four of these 4 jobs open. And how do you manage that?
Yeah. No, it's a very mature way of thinking because if one job that you decide to take on, if one of those things go wrong, if that will put you out of business, you likely shouldn't take that job. And there's that fine line too of okay, the risk also we should take on some of these jobs to springboard us into growth. However, too, if you're willing to bet everything, like let's say your company's been in business for 3 years or 5 years, and you bet everything on this one job, and if something goes wrong, it would put you out of business, is that worth it? And not saying a yes or no, but you have to ask yourself that. And because it happens all the time. And
Yeah.
it's just, it's a scary thing. But then also a lot of these companies, like through these recessions, that's how they make it as well, is they take these risks. So it's, it's a tricky game that we all play, but at the end of the day, you're not just responsible for yourself. Usually, there's other team members, there's your family, and you have to take all of that into consideration when making some of these ultra risky uh, or taking on some of these ultra risky jobs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a thin line between risk and reward, and I've been on both
Yeah,
sides of it. So I'm trying to take some of the lessons that I've learned. Like, one of the jobs that we got at Riverview was a hotel. We made a killing on it. So we're like, okay, that dollar amount was X. We can handle X, but
yeah,
the variables that you get from job to job, and just because that one went great doesn't mean that now you're in the $500,000 job category because this one
right.
didn't go good and it was less. So I've tried to take when I've been offered certain things recently that I've turned down, I've tried to look at it from that perspective and say, okay, do I want to bet the house on this?
Yeah,
I mean, right now it's a house of cards, so like one thing goes wrong, I'm screwed. But
right.
you like you said, you've got at some point you've got a family, you might have employees, you have the bank wants to get paid if you buy something, whether you're making money or not. You've got to fill
Yeah.
that nut. So is it worth betting the house on this particular job, or should you grow a little more and then get into something like that to, like you said, springboard yourself to the next level of business and jobs that you want to get into?
Yeah. One of the greatest, I guess you could say maybe personality traits that I've seen in some successful excavation company owners and really in business in general is that delayed gratification. And the more you can see business as like zoomed out a little bit more and how you need to weather certain storms and maybe flatten the curve a little bit more instead of these sharp rises and these sharp declines.
Mm,
Um, but just that delayed gratification piece of like, how can we do something today for our future self in the business? And a lot of that too, and you're probably looking at this, is like how much do you take out of the business as your personal pay? And that can be difficult at any stage of the business, but the business needs to eat, and the business, as you've experienced, takes a lot to eat at different stages. So what you take out of it, especially at the beginning, is a big indication of how much is going to be left in the business.
right. I mean, that's something I'm looking at as I'm like right now, I'm just renting stuff as I go. But I am looking at, okay, so if I get these particular jobs that I've put numbers out for, renting in the long term, you're not going to make any money.
Right.
Like you can't, I mean, you might have to rent stuff here or there, but if you have an entire fleet of rental equipment, you couldn't, I don't see how you could possibly charge enough to be able to maintain that overhead and make money and grow and feed your business. So at some point you gotta take a big bite out of the apple and buy something. So I'm looking at, what a potential first machine is. And it's for me, I've got a spread of like some utility work and some house lots. I got a guy that I've been doing some work with that wants to start subbing me in on his projects that are a little bit more commercial based, not
Yep.
entirely, but um, so you got to factor that in too. And when you look at like your first big purchase, like you said, what you take out now is showing you what's going to be left later. Well, if I want to pay myself all the money, that's great. Like I'll
Yeah.
live good for now, but at some point, like I gotta buy an excavator. I gotta buy a skid steer. So being able to put the cash back into the business, and everybody that I've talked to, like I've got, my friends, the same friends that you have, Missy, Ryan, Dane, Jimmy,
Mhm.
they've all given me the same advice. You gotta reinvest now to set yourself up for later
Yeah.
so that the business can grow and the business can do what it needs to do. So like you said, if you can delay the self gratification of, I made, I had a really good week last week. I made like 15 grand. Well, I have the option to pay myself 15 grand and go have a great month and do whatever I want to do. But when it comes time to getting back to work, I still don't have any money put aside for a machine, or I still don't have any money put aside to, start this next bigger job that I need to front some money on. So the reinvestment and delaying the
Mhm.
look what I've done, that's huge. And that for somebody like me who's always had a little bit of a large ego, um, it's there's been a lot of nice little lessons you learn along the way at the very beginning.
All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick second to thank our episode 101 sponsors. You guys already know them, Sludgehammer. Thank you, Sludgehammer, for being such a huge supporter of the Dirtbags podcast. As you guys know, Sludgehammer revolutionizes wastewater treatment with their non mechanical aerobic bacterial generators, which is that ABG, which is simple, durable, and built for sustainability. At the core, you have their Sludgehammer blend, which is that trademarked blend, a proprietary bacterial inoculum engineered to restore and enhance biological performance in septic systems. So there's no moving parts, just powerful, natural microbiology doing the heavy lifting. So it's backed by the NSF 40 certification, IAPMO IGC 180-2003 testing standard. Probably butchered that. And listed under the Uniform Plumbing Code, just to make sure that they've checked all their boxes, they've crossed their T's, they've dotted their I's. Smart, sustainable, proven. Of course, go check them out, sludgehammer.net. Or, of course, give them a follow on Instagram at Sludgehammer Group LTD. Let them know you heard them on the show. Let them know how awesome they are. They have been incredible. So thank you, Sludgehammer. Thank you for sponsoring episode 101 of the Dirtbags podcast. Let's get back to it with Mr. Zach Taylor. Yeah. And it's one thing that I've seen help a lot of people, including myself, is as the owner, paying yourself a like, and maybe this is like another year in the business. So let's say you're 2 years along in the business, is paying yourself a set salary that you could live on, but it's kind of more bare bones. And then every quarter, taking a look at potentially doing a distribution. So whatever's left in the profits, allocating everything to expenses, to taxes, to everything else, to equipment, retained earnings, but then whatever's left over in profit, deciding how much of that to bring home as a bit of a bonus to your income. I think that's really helped because when it comes to tax planning as well, as the business owner, you've got to make sure you're not paying yourself the government's money, because then they're
Right.
just going to come right back for it, and then you're really in a hole. But I know doing that schedule has been really nice. Of when I started, or when I went full time with Phaser, my paychecks were so small; they're $500 every 2 weeks. But to me, it was like I knew that that's what I made, $1,000 a month. And then if I hit a certain tier on a 3 month rolling average, I'd get a raise, and it'd be $2,000 a month, and then 3,000, then 4,000, and so on. But then the quarterly distribution there was more in there because you left more of it in the business. You make sure the business is taken care of, taxes are taken care of, all that. And then if there's still extra and a surplus, then you can bring some more of that home. But I know that's been a good way that people have kind of managed that relationship with, hey, we had a great week, we made 15K. That didn't change my salary. It just, the
Right.
business made 15K, and then it goes into the other buckets. And then maybe 2 months later, when we look at distributions, it's still there.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, I met with an accountant a couple of weeks ago to ask exactly those questions. I'm like, I pay myself like $500 a week, like just to
Hmm.
cover my bills. The company picks up my pickup, picks up the fuel, all the things that a normal business would absorb anyway. So I can afford to pay myself less than what I was making in
Yeah.
Boston because I'm not taking all that. I don't have all that expense directly to me now. But I was like, how do I, what's the best way to pay myself? Because I don't want to overpay myself and then turn around and be jammed up come tax season and be like, oh, well, you owe us 25 grand. And I could have been
Right.
putting away, a couple $100 a week to offset that bill and figure, the write-offs and all that and be like, okay, well, I've got this for tax in the tax envelope and now we can pay that bill. So I've got another meeting with them to do some tax prep and then start planning for next year. But
Nice.
that was like one of my big, I don't want to get into a tax problem because I've been down that road in other ventures before where, you know, my old business partner, not Riverview, the other
Mhm.
guy didn't pay any taxes. He ended up with a massive
Yeah.
bill. And I had no clue because I wasn't handling the financials. So
Oh, yeah.
when they
And
came knocking and we had a huge tax bill because he just didn't do any of that planning, it was a huge pain.
yeah, and a couple things with that is, you think of it like when you're an employee at a company, when you get your paycheck, it pulls the taxes out. And when you're self-employed, doing that same thing for yourself, like, you still need to pay taxes. We all know that. But a lot of us business owners will, if we get paid $15,000, some of us think it's just, oh, sweet, we have 15K. Like, you do not have $15,000. And
No,
early on, what helped me, and I'm, I guess, more of a conservative um, businessman, is I would just say a third, a third, a third. A third of the money that I make goes to taxes. Super simple in my brain. It's like, if we make 15K this week, 5K goes to taxes, different account. The nice thing about that is when we paid quarterly taxes, let's say we had 40K that we paid in that quarter, uh, my tax bill was maybe only $21,000, and we'd have 19 extra. And so in my head, I knew that was our retained earnings as well, and that we could distribute that however we wanted into our company, into our own pockets, into investing, whatever that looked like. But I think over saving was good for me so that I could work within the budget that I set for myself of, we have $10,000 that we made off this job that was 15,000, but
right.
5K went to taxes.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm working through right now and getting in, that percentage, those percentages for me will shift at some point
Yeah.
depending, what your other expenses are and how you break those out for, you know, equipment, material, whatever, just things that you need to buy for the business. Which, by the way, that's been an exciting venture too when you realize like, oh shit, I work for a $100 million company. I don't have a compactor. I don't have a
Yeah.
cutoff. So I don't have a shovel. Like I gotta go buy all this. So that's been
Gloves,
fun too.
like,
Gloves, like, all of it. It's all in there.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that, I mean, if I could, that was the first question I had. My buddy, the one that was pushing me to get the company credit card, him and his dad, they work in the food industry. They're brokers for like retail stores and stuff. But he was like, I'm going to give you my accountant's phone number, talk
Mm,
to them, figure out, they might not be for you, but they've been good for
yeah.
us. But you need to get some sort of a plan together so that you don't end up, screwing yourself in the long run. And he helped me set my QuickBooks up. And, that's another thing I'm looking at is how to cut payroll for QuickBooks for myself so that, how the taxes work out and just have the
Yeah.
company pay those. So those are all things that if you're starting into the business, like I'm not good at that. I know I'm
Yeah.
not good at that. So I made it a point to jump on it right away because I didn't want to be 6 months down the road with, you know, a shoebox full of receipts being like,
Yeah.
oh, time to do taxes. What do we do? So
How do we
I've
do
tried.
this year?
Yeah, how do we do this year? I get, whatever. So I've made a push to, get uncomfortable with things I
Yeah.
don't like to do. And it's eye-opening. Sounds like it's been some, big light on dawns on Marblehead thing, but it's been very, it has been eye-opening to see like where the money has actually gone. Like
Yeah.
when we broke out one of the reports in QuickBooks, it was like, oh, you did like $60,000 last month. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then you look at everything that I paid out for, and it was like, you did $9,000 last month.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, all right. So then, like you said, third goes to taxes. Now I did 6 grand last month. And yeah, made as much as I did working in Boston. Great.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's really fun too when you start to build some assets and you start to get some equipment and you start to get some softwares and you start to have some core values and then a team and all of a sudden that obviously that 6K or 9K grows, but more importantly than that, like the brand equity and the asset that you're building, which is a business, grows from there. So I'm in the same boat, or I was in the same boat you were too, where I didn't know any of this, but I knew if I was going to be in business for a long time, I needed to be uh, willing to get uncomfortable, like you mentioned, but also willing to ask questions. And so, like with our CFO, he knows I'm a little ultra conservative, but he knows it's good for us because in my brain, until I fully understand it, I need to be a little bit more conservative. So people listening thinking like, Luke, 33% for taxes, that is not even close. I know it's a lot lower than that, but to me, until I understood and got on a more sophisticated system like Profit First, which is what we run on now, uh, I had to go bigger because I had to make sure that we had enough set aside. And the great part is it's not the government's money, like the surplus you have, it's yours, and you get to decide what to do with it. So it's yeah, being able to ask questions, but more importantly, obviously having the right people in your corner, like you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, people have asked me before, like, what do you think? What's if you're going into business, whatever, like at the end of the day, like your relationships are either going to make or break you. And I've made it a point to build relationships with people that are doing what I hope to be doing
Yeah.
so that you can pick their brain and you can ask. And it's not, you look at somebody that's got, look at somebody like Dane that's got a big, successful company. If you don't know him, you want to ask somebody like that a question, it can be intimidating
Yeah.
because the question that you want to know 3 months into business is minute in detail to a business that's been operating at a high level for so long that you just feel
Yeah.
like an idiot. So you're like, oh, well, I know, what do you think
Hey,
about
Dane.
that? So being able to have relationships with people in various industries and various,
Yeah.
levels of business and years in their career or whatever. And then, who's your accountant? What are you doing? How are you setting this up? It's
Yeah.
made it, it's made the getting uncomfortable part a little bit more comfortable because they remember when they were getting started and they probably had the same questions. So, um, networking and growing relationships with people has been a huge saver for me, when it's come time to ask for advice.
Yeah. And that's why we do the podcast. I mean, this is episode 101, 101 episodes of people like we've had Dane on, as you mentioned, and we've had people that are thinking about starting a business that haven't even started and everything in between. Lighthouse people that, do cash flow for construction or insurance for construction or debt collection
Shout
for
out Charlie.
construction. Yeah, shout out Charlie Huff. Huge shout out to Charlie. I know you
Yeah.
and Alex use him and love him, and I mean he's obviously been a huge supporter of the show.
Yeah.
He is the best, and this is just an additional shout out for Charlie. I know we already have his in the show, but um, a lot. It's pretty cool. Like a lot of the listeners have reached out to Charlie, and they're like, "Dude, he's awesome. Like, why didn't you tell me about this
Yeah.
earlier?" I'm like, "I've been saying it every episode."
Well, I hadn't listened to a ton of your podcast before. Um, and I was talking to Alex and I was having a huge issue with my insurance company. Like all I
Yeah,
wanted was automatic payments. And I always got, because at the time before, like when I was just doing stuff on the side, um, insurance payments to me, like I'm not pulling COIs every week. I'm not constantly talking. It's not in
yeah,
the forefront of my mind. So I had some dinky little insurance policy for like, $1,000 for the year or whatever. So I could go grade driveways and not get sued. And, I was just having an issue with them. Like they couldn't, I'd forget to make my insurance payment because I wouldn't need a policy for 3 months at a time. And I called Alex one day and we were talking about something, and I was just like, "Who the hell do you use for your insurance?" Because I've had enough of this company and these people. He goes, "I'm going to give you my guy's number. He's great." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah.
So he's like, "He's in Utah, so just keep in mind the time difference when you call him." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, that's cool." So I just called him and he picks up, super high motivated, happy, and I'm like, "Hey, you
He's
don't know me from a
insane.
hole in the wall." Yeah, no, he's great, but he's been awesome. I was just talking to him earlier about an umbrella policy I might need. But Charlie's great. Appreciate you, buddy. I know you're going to listen
Yeah.
to this later, so
And his cell number, like, Zach, just like you mentioned, his cell number is 435-764-4833. As you guys know, you've listened to the podcast. He's a huge supporter of this show. Ask him for a free comparison, a free quote. Just give him a shout, let him know you heard him on the podcast. He's just such a great guy. I mean, all of our sponsors are, but it's really cool when you start to see other good people using them. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
there's a reason for it, and a lot of times it isn't the rate, it's the level of service that you get.
right.
And yeah,
And that's what
that's
was important to me.
yeah.
I actually gave him I gave his number to a friend of mine out here that was going out on his own after being with his family forever, and he hooked him up too. So now Charlie's got clients all over the country.
Man, I love it. I can't wait
He's
till he comes
killing
up to
it.
Arizona and go to a Phoenix Suns game or something.
Perfect.
Oh, dude, Zach. So, as we kind of work on wrapping up the episode here, I know we've got Con Expo coming up, obviously, March. We've got, so you're speaking at that. Any
Yep.
other big shows you're going to? Anything with crew going on? Definitely want to touch a little bit on that. Anything else
Uh,
exciting going on the next 6 months here?
Go to Trimble Dimensions again.
Oh, is
They're
that
one of the
November?
partners of Crew. Yeah, second week in November, I think. It's the week after Dirt World Summit.
Okay, so I'm going to Dirt World. And so
Yeah,
if anyone's going to Dirt World in Dallas, let me know. And I think Trimble's in Vegas again, right?
yeah, it's back in Venetian.
I know I've got something going on. What is Trimble like? I've never been out there. The show.
So last year it was I don't want to say it was a mini con expo because it's all Trimble based, but every other year they do an offsite with Trimble powered machines and demos, and you got machines you can run. So
Hmm.
last year was my first year going. It was pretty cool. Sat in on a couple of panel talks, which was interesting. But it's a really cool trade show. It's a good like middle ground to catch up with your friends in the industry. The technology is great. It's something that even at my, you know, very small size is something that I'm considering
Hmm.
just to help benefit the business. So different solutions for grade control, for GPS, but I mean, they offer uh, packages for everything. Shay Stutzman did a panel or just a breakout session that I sat in on, and all the solutions that they have from their machines, how it goes back to the office, how the whole team can communicate on the project because of the subscription services that they offer for different things for business. And um, it's not cheap, but good things
Yeah.
usually aren't. So I think it's worth going if you're looking at that type of advancement of your business,
Yeah.
or investing in technologies and things like that. It's definitely worth checking out. It was a cool show, and so I'm excited to go back.
Is it is it at the convention center in Las Vegas?
No, it's at the Venetian.
Oh, okay. So it's at the Venetian.
So
And then
yeah, they rent out the convention center in the Venetian and just
got
keep it
it. And
all
then are
day.
there other vendors there, or is it just Trimble and just focused on that?
I mean, there were so they've got like part of the hall has got like booths set up that you can go to throughout the day.
Got it.
Um, so there's different vendors there that like use their technology
Gotcha.
in what they do, right? So like little robo dogs you see running around
Oh yeah.
Con Expo, the Trimble
Beating
dog.
up Dana White
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So there was a company that had those, and then there was drone companies, and so there's different people, but they're all people that use the Trimble technology to provide whatever service that
Got it.
they're marketing for. So it was really cool. There was a lot of stuff that I had no clue. Like I had,
Yeah.
Jason and I had a Trimble on one of our minis, and we loved it. But just to be
Mm.
able to see like everything else that they have to offer, their whole suite of products, it was pretty good. So we're going back to that. Be exciting.
So you'll go with crew, and then yeah, if you don't mind
Yeah,
too, we've talked about crew collaborative, of course, on the podcast, but what are you working on with crew? Anything happening there? Give us an update on crew. I mean, I think I've been out of it now for like I think a year and a half, which has
must be because I got a memory
flown
on
by.
Facebook of the last retreat that they went on with you and Alex. Sent me a picture
Yeah,
from
gosh, what a
Boise
great
or wherever they
time.
were. Oh, killer time. Missed you guys. Yeah. So I mean, Crew's a nonprofit. Obviously, our mission is to educate the next generation of the trades. You know, we are not like an anti-college screw school type. We promote
Drop out.
that. Yeah, drop out. Go with go if you're going to go with a plan. But we want to give people the option, kids the option to know what else is out there from a career standpoint. Which I've said, I wish years ago there was something like this that existed because
Yeah.
we have different committees. Like we've got a classroom talks committee that we do Zoom presentations to schools, and we'll bring a handful of different people, various engineers, project managers, operators, welders, carpet, whatever, and we'll give an overview of like, hey, listen, like this is what I do, this is how I got started, this is the type of money I make, these are the type of things you can get into, this is your career path, blah 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 blah. Or I wanted to be an engineer, so I went to this. I did this track in school. These were the courses that I recommend. Kind of give them a plan for people that want to get into that type of stuff. And it's been fun because, like I said, I have said before, like I went to college because I got to play basketball.
Yeah.
Sweet. Like had it not been for that, like I don't know what I would have done. I might have gone and dropped out. I mean, I never finished, so I might as well have dropped out anyway. But basically, when my basketball eligibility was done, I was done. So, but
Sure.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just signed up for let's take business marketing classes, and like I changed my major twice, and I
Yeah.
transferred schools twice because I had no clue what I wanted, and I'd always wanted to be in construction, but like I didn't know what career opportunities were out there. So had
Hmm.
it not been for sports, like I could have started doing what I'm doing now when I was 18. And I just didn't know that that was even available to me. So
Right.
I enjoy it because I can relate to that kid that sits in the middle of the classroom that doesn't really like school, that thinks he's supposed to go to college because that's what everybody told him to do, but he doesn't have a plan, or he plays sports or whatever, and be like, hey, this is what I do. This is how I
Yeah.
got here. I could have avoided crippling student loan debt by doing this. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that, which is good. We just had a call with the Philadelphia School Department. They've got like 250 CTE schools. They start their kids in middle school talking to them about trade schools and different things that they can
Wow.
do. So they want the kids going to high school with a plan so that when they leave high school and consider whether it's a trade school or higher education, they have a plan. So that's going to be really exciting. That'll be a good relationship there to talk to a bunch of different kids. So that's like kind of our marquee program, if you will. But we go to the different larger events just to try and partner with some other companies. Like Trimble does a lot of outreach. They do
Hmm.
a lot of college stuff trying to recruit, and so being able to partner with them and be a part of their show just kind of expands the reach of what we're trying to do, and just basically share the information of these are your options. You don't need to necessarily go to school for business because that's what your dad did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And that's why I was grateful to be a part of crew for a full year. I was on the board with all you guys, and something that we've taken on in our company at Phaser the last 5 years is yeah, we have a trade school scholarship for my high school, and it's reserved for somebody going into a trade school, and it's not somebody going into a 4 year degree, even like I got myself. It's trying to promote the career paths within the trades and just showing that there are other options than just this one path. And so, yeah, you're not an anti school. You're just a pro. Hey, there's some other great options out here. And um, even from a financial standpoint, I mean, we're seeing the trades pay a whole lot more
Oh, way
than
better.
a sport management degree coming out of college. And I can say that because I got
Right.
I got that. Yeah,
Yeah. And
I'm
that's
not.
what I tell people. I'm like, I make more money. Had I gone to school from, I mean, I suppose I could have become some genius marketer and opened a firm and gone down that road. But like, if I was just sitting in an office right now, I'd probably be making 75, 80K a year and punch the clock from 9 to 5 and take my tie off when I got home and probably, sit in front of the TV. I don't know. But I mean, just the trades offer so much more. And especially to a kid like me that couldn't really sit still.
Yeah,
The idea of going to college to get a degree, to go sit at a desk, to not be able to sit still is just like, no.
yeah. But at the time,
So,
you didn't
but at the
know.
time I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah. So you
And I actually had this conversation the other day. Like when I had that first business that went under and I, filed my bankruptcy and lost my pickup and was like, found out rock bottom had a basement, like because of having a skill set. You like that?
that's good. That's good.
Rock bottom had a basement.
Damn,
Um,
that's good.
that is good. I got some good one-liners. Trauma will do that to you. Uh, by having a skill set, I was able, and like, I'm not by any means like rolling in the lap of luxury. My boat is not brand new. Dane's got a much nicer boat than I do. I just love my
Great
boat
boat.
because
Great
great
boat.
boat. One day, I just love my boat because I paid for it and I own it. But I was able to get from rock bottom's basement to going and buying a new truck in 5 years after that, to buying a new truck that I just bought, to pulling myself out of that hole simply because I had a skill set and I was willing to work. And if you have those two things, the you know the world's your oyster, really.
Yeah,
Like you can just simply go make more money,
yeah,
which I'm not saying hard work doesn't pay off if you're a lawyer, because you could become a partner or start your own. There's obviously people that make a lot more money than I do, but being able to take a skill set that I have and a work ethic that I knew that I could you know, put out there, I was able to go from the basement to pulling myself out of a hole and being in a much more comfortable position. So just to be able to relate that to kids, that being dirty and having ripped jeans and dirty shirts and smelling at the end of the day isn't something to be looked down on. Like there's a lot of people that are doing really well, living
yeah.
very comfortably, that are just willing to take a skill set and work hard.
Yeah. And just being able to be so transparent with everyone and talking about that path, talking about what they do, what they make, what their home life looks like, and just going into all the details and what they were like in school as well. So yeah, it's amazing to see what Crew is doing, but also that, yeah, there's so many other great organizations too that you'll see at Trimble, you'll see at Con Expo. And I think the industry is heading to it's heading in the right direction. It's just maybe a question of whether it's going there fast enough.
Right.
And I think when you watch like Aaron's content and BuildWit, I mean they are about as good as it gets and know the industry. And yeah, it's tough, like the uphill battle, but there are a lot of positives that we're seeing from it as well. So it's just, can we have that improvement fast enough?
Right.
So yeah, dude, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see you at Con Expo. For everyone
Thank
listening,
you.
what's that?
I said thank you.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna make it to your session, Tuesday
Beautiful.
session. I mean, first day, everyone's gonna be excited to be there. For anyone still listening, we've got Zach Taylor. This is episode 101. Go give him a follow at underscore Taylor things. And of course, the business account at Milania underscore corp. That's MILANIA underscore corp. And with that, my brother, that was so fun. Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you for being on the
Lefroy,
podcast. Yeah, I
cheers.
got
Thank you
the,
for having me.
and I didn't even mention this, but Zach's got a white monster in a Gray Goose.
Yes.
I
It was
can't
a
even say
Grey Goose.
bottle, half
No,
bottle.
well, it was a bottle. So the guy at the Chinese restaurant, when he goes through a bottle, he cuts them, or he sends them to a guy down the street that cuts them and turns them into glasses. So I
Yeah. So for
borrowed one.
those on YouTube, you've already seen it, but the white
Yeah,
monster, and yeah, man, just so grateful to have you on the show. So grateful to have you in my life, and excited for the next podcast we get to do together.
awesome, buddy. Thank you. It was great.
All right, man. Everyone, thank you for listening. We will see you on 102.